We are Rogue Media Sports.
There you are.
Oh, I didn't see you there. It's the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. Mike Hamilton filling in for Zach Burke today. What a treat that is.
Doing a wonderful job, too.
What a treat that is. Mike Hamilton alongside Cam Stewart here. I don't even like saying my last name on this show.
Yeah.
It should be Show, since it's all our handles are Cam Show.
So, like, your last name should be Show?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's better than Cam.
Well,
That'd be
yeah,
hard.
almost anything in life is better than that.
Than Cam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Cam, what's going on in sports?
Well, Mike, you're not going to believe this. They've got this new program. They're putting football on Monday nights instead.
What the?
Or I should say, on top of Sunday. Jets
It's the
lost.
Zoo Crew.
I don't know how some of the people do that on radio, man. Like just 6 a.m., 7 a.m., just full of energy, second date update,
Never got
friggin'
that.
War of the Roses, Prep Burger.
It's got to be cocaine.
And have you guys seen this? There's a person in Minnesota who claims to have eaten 1 million Big Macs in their lifetime.
Whoa! I couldn't eat 1 million Big Macs in your lifetime. Honk, honk.
We should be calling that guy the Big Mac.
All right, say that.
All right.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Which one?
Any of them.
We should call him the Big Mac.
There you go.
We should make this a Prep Burger show
This
for
this-
like the first half hour.
This should just be, the wildest and wackiest takes on the news of the day.
Oh, and can you believe this, Mike? What I'm going to do, I've got my laptop in front of me.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to Google
Uh-huh.
Florida.
That's the sound of him Googling.
Man. Let's see what we get.
I've been here before.
Florida man accused of trying to steal generator that powered traffic light.
Womp, 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 womp.
Thank you. The second one says, rare happy ending to Florida man story.
Oh, you're still getting some laughs in there.
Florida man Lieutenant Dan, who rode out Hurricane Milton in a boat, becoming a viral sensation, drops N-word during Kick live stream.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong button. I'm sorry. I hit the applause. I didn't mean to do that. It should be more like,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. There is a FloridaMan.com. Did
They
you know
got
that?
run out of buttons.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
actually, I did know that. Yeah. At least
Top
Florida
10
guys, they're
categories,
nuts.
birthday challenge.
Hey, speaking of birthdays, I'd like to wish Walton a happy 10th today.
Da 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 da. Anyway,
This is
You-
not the
you-
same show at all.
you saw a kid who had a birthday the other day
I did.
at Cracker Barrel.
Oh, yes, I did. I did see a kid who had a birthday the other day. I did not know until he was left there on his own.
By his presumed mother.
Yeah,
presumed mother.
I assume it was his mother. I know that she cared more about the tiny dog than she did about the child. She held a tiny dog in her left hand as she ate with her right hand. That's exactly the way it looked. And like I told you earlier, I was really afraid that when she got up, she would put the little tiny dog in her bra. And they
Or
all
eat it.
They all
Or
left.
just continue the eating.
Well, that would be good too. He's just peeking out the whole time. They left, and 2 kids got left behind. And I mean, when I'm talking kid, I'm like, I don't know, this one's like 6, and then maybe one that's 10. They're just sitting there, and my wife and I are walking out. I just kind of look over because errant child sitting in the Cracker Barrel, and he looks at me and goes, "It's my birthday." About like that, and I said, "Well, happy birthday!" And then I walked as fast as I could to get out of there.
Yeesh, man, that's Cracker Barrel.
Have you
for
seen that, Cam?
And get a load of this, folks.
Whoa! Watch out when he winds up like that.
I think at some point I do need to have this be like a late night talk show comedy monologue to open the show.
I like that.
Now we've got a prompter on the way.
Uh-huh.
We've not that I would ever use
We
that.
just never put it together,
But we've got a screen, like we've got a part of the studio that we don't use for this show.
Yeah.
We are getting there.
Oh, you mean like a touch screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the touch screen. Mm-hmm.
You know who's not getting there?
Who's that?
Gerard Mayo.
Nope.
Gerard Mayo, head coach of the New England Patriots. Oh, I thought you were going to do the boo sound effect. You don't have to yet. We'll give him some time. We'll give him some time.
I'll put it in later.
So Gerard Mayo is on the Greg Hill show yesterday after a tight 20-point loss at home to the Houston Texans, in which most Patriots people were actually kind of happy in terms of there was some hope with the Drake May performance. But if you're looking at it glass half empty, which I don't blame you in this scenario, I kind of looked at it this way too. You look at that game and you say, man, imagine what it would be like if Drake May actually had a team around him, actually had some weapons, some semblance of a defense, some semblance of an offensive line, any of that. We'd be way over the moon, right? And so Gerard Mayo goes on the show yesterday and they ask him about that. And they, basically the roster construction, why the roster was in such bad shape going into the offseason. Gerard Mayo said, "You tell me. I'm not going there." Is there some shade at Bill Belichick there? Kinda. And not that Gerard Mayo has earned any right to be talking down to any coach or former coach in this league, but he does have kind of a point. I mean, Gerard Mayo was not running the team. It was Bill Belichick. I don't think Elliott Wolf has done much in the meantime to make them any better. And in fact, I think he's kept them stuck in neutral with what he did in this offseason. And the neutral for the Patriots right now is bad. It would be like if your car was in neutral and most of the time, you can push it out, you'll be fine. It's better than not being able to go at all. But the Patriots car is in neutral and they're also underwater. So it really makes no difference either way. And they're not just letting it sink to the bottom while they get out. They're keeping it in neutral underwater with what Elliott Wolf did in this offseason. And you look at their offensive line and they're all waiver claims. They're all waiver claims right now. They might be getting Cole Strange back with Leverett getting cut today, and that probably means that Strange is close to a comeback. But Gerard Mayo here is saying, it's not me. It's not my fault. And I think that's something that's fair criticism for this Patriots team, when even though you knew they were going to be bad, even though you knew they were going to be testing out Drake May at some point, the fact that there is not even half a good team around him shows just how bad this situation is for the Patriots in the short term, at least. Because I talked about it yesterday. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels both get drafted ahead of May, and they're both in better situations than May is. And that is a weird thing to say, even with how bad the Patriots have been the last few years, to say that Washington is in a better position than the Patriots are. But that's where we're at. That's where we are right now. And so I get floored almost when yesterday Felger and Maz are the only ones seemingly in the Boston sports media that aren't talking positive about the way Drake May looked. In fact, they said, he didn't get you any closer to winning the game. You still lost by 3 touchdowns. And I'm like, what do you expect? What do you expect, man? His best receiver is Pop Douglas, who's a nice player. But he's throwing to Kendrick Bourne and Jalen Polk and Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry. Like, what do you expect from the kid? He's being blocked for by an offensive line that has one starter remaining from week 1, their only win of the season. His left tackle for most of the game is a guy they signed off the street a couple days ago, off the Raiders practice squad. One of the only teams that's almost just as bad as you are. And they just expect the kid to go out there and win a game by himself or lose by 7 to one of the best teams in the AFC, by the way. The Texans are going to win that division and should really walk away with that division. And they're like, oh, well, they still stink. What do you expect? Of course they still stink. The team stinks. That's why it was like, get Drake May in there and let's have some progress here while this team is just going to suck. So at least there's something to look forward to. But I swear, man, I still think Felger and Maz are both pretty smart, but there's some times where they just both want to they just want to bring you down a little bit. Like they want to like spit in the face of anybody who thought there was hope in that game by how Drake May played. Was he flawless? No, but he's pretty darn good for a kid making his first start who wasn't deemed to be ready a few weeks ago to even play in the NFL and go against a real NFL defense. He faced one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best pass rushes in the league, with the worst offensive line in the league and the worst weapons in the league, and he threw 3 touchdowns. And he did keep you in that game. I don't think there was any point where you thought the Patriots were going to win it, but 14-7 at halftime, and you knew Houston was the better team, but you weren't being destroyed most of that game. And Drake May was the reason why. And after watching 5 weeks of that Jacoby Brissett, Alex Van Pelt offense, to not see that there was hope after what we saw on Sunday is just I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to find hope in many things because, Caleb Williams hasn't played very well. He's played okay for the Bears. They're 4-2. They're not all going to be Jaden Daniels. In fact, I think Drake May could end up playing better than Caleb Williams in a lot of these weeks, but they're not going to win very much. The Bears are a better team than the Patriots. So I don't know what you're expecting at that point. But Mayo, I think, handled that answer just about as well as you could have, I guess, because the alternative was some bullshit fluff answer of him saying, like, well, we're always trying to improve our team, and we thought we got the best guys out there. In fact, I think he did say, we felt we got the best offensive lineman on the market. It was re-signing Mike Onwenu, and it was, he can feed you that Campbell's chicken noodle soup bullshit, or he can just say, you know what, that was before I was running the team, before I was the head coach of this team. And it is that I've said it all season long. This season is not, or the keeping of Drake May on the shelf was not a sign of how bad this team is this year, more than it is a sign of how poorly you've constructed your roster the last few seasons. Because Washington and Chicago did a rebuild, and they were able to have a roster that was good enough that they could put their rookie quarterback out there week 1 and be successful. Both those teams have been successful so far this year. The Patriots didn't have a roster good enough to do either of those things. They couldn't play their rookie quarterback week 1, and they couldn't be successful. They had to punt on both of those, to the point where you talk about the situations in Chicago and Washington. If they continue to go this year the way they're going, you actually start with a much higher floor than the Patriots do next year. You really can utilize the rookie contract that you have with your quarterback. The Patriots right now cannot, and they need to hit really well on the next draft to be able to have a position to say we're starting with a pretty high floor going into 2025. But I doubt that's going to be the case. And what's interesting is I think you can compare it a lot to the quarterback that they're playing next week in Trevor Lawrence. The Jags did not have a great roster around him. Now, year 2, they made the playoffs. But year 1, they didn't have a great roster around him. It set them back. Carolina Panthers, same thing. They've had to bench their quarterback. And you look at the Lawrence draft, and he and Zach Wilson were not nearly the situations that Mac Jones was in with the Patriots. And the Patriots made the playoffs that year after taking a 1-year hiatus from it in 2020. And you look at these situations now, you could see Chicago or Washington as a playoff team this year, let alone next year. Because, by the way, man, that NFC East, oh, man, it's fading. Philly at the top, Washington right there. Washington's better than Dallas. The Cowboys suck. And now their owner, by the way, today is threatening to fire radio hosts. That's how bad it's getting in Dallas. He is literally threatening to fire the host that interview him on his weekly spot on the Fan. That's incredible. How about those Cowboys, Mike? Don't you jealous of
82
them?
years old, right?
82. Yep, just had his
82.
birthday.
What I don't understand is, like, in this country, why are there so many 80-year-olds who are at the top of things? There's a lot of 80-year-olds out there.
Hell yeah, man.
It used to be that 80-year-olds just they didn't do these kind of
They were
things.
kind of done at that point.
Yeah. When
But
I'm
now
82
they're going to be president. Well, they are president now. Probably will be in a couple of weeks as well.
yeah,
They're running the Cowboys. They're running the Patriots. They're running.
it's just so
They're
many.
making senile decisions.
So many white
It's too many
82-year-olds out there. I didn't realize there were so
No,
many.
sure,
I guess
it's
that were in
not
power.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. But you got that in Dallas. You got an 80-whatever-year-old running the Patriots who didn't even interview another head coach for his vacancy in the past year. They're just like they're making authoritative decisions that are weird.
And how old was
Overall.
Belichick?
60.
Oh, okay. Late 60s.
Yeah, probably almost 70.
Late 60s,
Probably
almost
right around 70.
Okay.
Wanna
Well,
say
I mean,
54.
God bless America. He's got another 20 years ahead of him.
Hell
you
yeah.
know?
And he could be working for that
And he'll be in
82-year-old.
Dallas. Yeah.
You think so?
Well,
I said last year, honestly, I said
Yeah.
at the end of last year, I said they should really be look at Belichick because it was one of those veteran teams that needed something to get over the top.
Yeah.
And they don't need like I was bitching about the Patriots not interviewing Ben Johnson, the Lions OC, yesterday because the Patriots need a direction. They need something new. The Cowboys don't really need a philosophy. They need a guy who will kick their guys in the ass. And maybe this year they don't have the talent. The last few years they did. And Mike McCarthy is the prime example of who can do less with more in my lifetime. No one's been able to do that more than Mike McCarthy. He had a top 5 quarterback for 10, 15 years and went to 1 Super Bowl. And what they need is a guy who knows how to not take any shit from veterans and get the best out of these guys to get to a championship level. There is no better example maybe in the history of sports than Bill Belichick in that respect.
What do you? Okay, so we'll go to break here in just a second. But
Fine.
What do you say about his Cleveland years?
Cleveland years are deceptively not as bad as people think.
Okay.
He had them going in the right direction. He actually had them in the playoffs in whatever that was, 94. They won a playoff game. And then that next year, like the sale is happening in the middle of the year. You saw it with the Oilers. I mean, the thing fell apart. Actually, Houston fell apart a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But like once those rumors and things start dominating and coming around,
Yeah.
like it's pretty difficult to keep going forward. I thought the Browns were in a good spot until 95, the sale starts happening, and we're done. So I don't want to say it's a wash, but I would take more credence to his last few years in New England than I would the years.
Well, you got Parcells that went through Dallas, and then you could possibly have Belichick going through Dallas.
Yeah.
I just don't think, and maybe this is just me, but I'm not a Cowboys fan. Never have been.
Mhm.
Have actually been an anti-Cowboys fan
I get
to my
that.
entire family. My wife is a huge Cowboys fan, so we watch every game. Plus, I mean, I'm in Texas, so I'm interested, as to the shit show that's happening.
Yeah.
But unless that organization changes, nothing's going to change. I don't care who you bring in. I don't care what you do to that organization. You've got a place where an 82-year-old runs a team. And no doubt about it, he runs the damn team.
Well, he holds court with the media after
Right.
games at the same time
Right.
the coach does.
And not only that, but he makes the decisions. He's the GM. And then what I didn't realize the other night watching the game was that players literally came up to McCarthy and said, "Hey, we're not practicing hard enough. We need to practice harder."
What a mess.
That's an organization.
What
that
a
needs structure.
mess that team is in.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's fun to watch. I've warned people about this, our local people who are Cowboys fans, before the season. I'm like, look, there's just something, and it's something you can quantify in terms of like off the field drama. And obviously the Cowboys have that all the time. But I'm like, there's something not good about this with holdouts for your two best players, like right up until the season starts. You crushing loss the year before. Your championship window's probably already gone with the talent that you had on the roster. Like, I was like, this could get bad. This thing could bottom out a little
And
bit.
then you got the two guys that are paid the most on the team that obviously do not like each other right now.
It's
that's
attrition
trouble.
right now.
That's trouble. That's trouble.
So at least I don't want to say the Patriots have direction, but they've got something going for them that is not the soap opera that is the Dallas Cowboys, which will be coached by Bill Belichick next year. I'm just put my balls out right now. October 15th. I actually said it last year, so this is a referendum. October 15th, 2024. Bill Belichick will be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. Book it. Please. Thank you. And I will be gone by then. Anyway, I do want to talk some Bruins and some Celtics, actually, coming up next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. like, I don't know. So I got a call from the car place. I took it for the last time.
Yeah.
I say the last time to the shop, and because of my to catch up the
Transmission.
listeners, the viewers, the transmission. The transmission light came on. This is this is 2 months ago now. Two months
It's been
ago.
a while.
And it felt odd. I like cried and had a local place take a look at it.
It's pretty sad watching you get off that public bus just in tears, bawling.
And so I take it to a local place with good reviews, and it says, yeah, you need a full transmission replacement. And I'm like, oh shit. Let me take it to a dealership, which I don't normally do.
Funny
Get a
because
second
that's how they
opinion.
fired Belichick too. They said we need a full transmission
Yeah.
replacement. And he was gone.
So I take it to the dealership, and they're like, yeah, nothing wrong. I can feel something different. Like I can. So I'm just like, okay, you know what? That I'm going to look to trade it in. Let's keep on the lookout for cars, which I have been for a month and a half now, still having trouble getting it. So I'm starting to take it out periodically. It's running. It feels a little weird. It's making some noises, but it's running. So today I took it last time, third opinion, because the first two were so off. I took it to Pete's guy, who he trusts.
Jimmy.
Therefore, I trust.
Jimmy the car man.
Jimmy the car man. His reviews are great.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? And
He sounded like a nice guy.
he tells me I don't work on transmissions. I can do diagnostics, but I don't work on transmissions.
He's a tree surgeon.
That's fine, man. I'm looking for someone trustworthy who can go in there and tell me what's wrong. And that might even mean that, hey, nothing's wrong with this. And that's essentially what he just told me. It's like nothing is wrong with the transmission that we could tell from the diagnostics tab. So, and to what we talked about off air, I don't know a lot about cars.
Yeah.
But if the transmission is really bad and needs a complete replacement, I think it would have stopped by now.
So here's the deal with
Drive or no drive. It's been a month and a half, and I've taken it out periodically. The whole last week, I've taken it out.
We had 5 kids, all teenagers at the same time, right? We would spend.
Sounds like a sitcom.
We would spend no more than $2,500 on a car for these kids, right? Because why?
Yeah.
Right? They're going to break down. They're going to bust them. They're going to crash them, whatever. So I think we went through 10 cars or so, something like that. But anytime there was a transmission failure, it was like, you're done. And so the fact that it's kind of slipping gears and stuff, you and I talked about how maybe it's a hose, maybe it's transmission fluid leak, something like that. It could very well be.
Should I take it to another place?
Yes.
Okay.
Second opinion. Well, this will be 15th
Fourth
opinion,
opinion,
but still,
but-
yeah. I would take it.
I guess I
more.
should have asked when I was on the phone with him. Does that include the diagnostics?
Yeah, yeah. I would take the one more guy, or one more person that maybe looks at transmission.
Your guy.
Well, I'm not saying it has to be my guy. My guy's nuts, but
Hey, I mean,
but he seems to know what he's doing. So that's completely up to you. But
why
I
don't
would-
we, after the show, send your guy a text and just see what he knows about
Yeah, great.
transmissions?
That sounds good.
I
Yeah.
don't know if we asked him that
Plus,
specifically.
I don't know if you realize this. You put this show out to the world.
You can't help yourself, by the way.
What?
Mike, can you put me on? real
Yeah,
quick?
you're on.
With what?
Dude, you can't help yourself
Pete Sousa.
because you're finally you've got an answer, and now you're like, I don't understand
Yeah,
what
but-
I'm here. I need to pipe in. Are you one of those people who once?
Pete's fired up.
No, are you one of those people
Yes.
who welcomes tumult and stress? Is that when you operate
Well,
the best? Because you seem like
Sometimes
right
it
now
feels like it.
you're paying rent in that house, right? Like your car's good. The guy just told you it was fine. Now you're gonna
Trust
get
him so much.
you've been driving a
Uh-oh.
station. I'm just saying,
Van, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's over. You're good. That's it, Mike. I'm fine. But I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Pete makes good points in here. He makes good points.
By the way,
It's
by
not
the
so
way,
much
It's
as
not a $50,000 car we're talking about here. Just drive.
right, but I don't have any money, dude.
I-
And the okay, I'm gonna
So
explain. I'm gonna
right now
explain
you can
myself
give it a
here.
gift. You don't have to pay anything. It's over.
But here, I'm gonna explain myself. I'm not welcoming stress so much as because I see what you're saying, Pete. What I'm pissed about, like what I'm stressed actually about, is that I don't know anything about cars and I have made a bad decision and that it will break down on me. That's what I always
But
think
Cam,
about.
you just took it
And
to
it
a
just,
mechanic.
I
and
know,
he told you.
and that's what I'm
And
reacting
now
to
you're
this.
taking
We're
it to
talking
Mike's
through
guy.
this.
It's gonna he'll probably. I'm sure Mike's guy will tell you there's something wrong with it. Everybody wants to
He
get
wants
paid.
some money.
No. This guy doesn't get paid. No.
Mike's guy.
And the thing is-
Mike's guy's gonna be Zach
This guy is.
in a costume. I promise.
This guy gets paid in sody waters.
The thing is,
He gets paid.
it feels different before that light ever came on.
I'm
That's
trying to
what's
help
still
you.
there
Dude.
with me.
This.
I know exactly what
And I
you're
got to drive
saying,
it to
Pete.
Chicago in a couple months.
I do know what you're saying, Pete. The only thing that gives me an extra pause to this situation is the fact that it's still making some noise and is sluggish when it clicks into gear.
What kind of what year?
Yeah, that's a good
1946.
What year? is it?
2017.
It's an old like.
You say it's an old car?
Look,
7
Wait,
years
what
old.
year?
17.
Oh, yeah, that's not that bad.
Cam, I don't know.
And to be fair, that's kind of the biggest thing right now is when I accelerate like out of a red light, that
I'm
RPM
not-
shoots way up and it's not
You get the-
going any faster.
I'm not a car guy either. But I'm a life experience guy, and I can tell right now you're somebody who's been. All the signs are there for you,
Yeah.
but you'd rather live in that.
Oh, I love
Cam's getting
stress.
screwed. As
I
hard as
love
it were.
stress.
Yeah, the Patriots suck. You know.
Well, half of those things are true.
All right, back to I'm doing a little work over here. I can't wait till the last segment, but I think
Yeah.
I've been hurt.
He has been hurt.
He has been hurt.
I said it before we got on the air. Pete was yelling before we got on the air too. He makes a good point. Like this is now 2 out of 3
I just
have
hated
told
when Mom
me
and Dad fight.
that it's fine. The third person said it wasn't fine, but they would stand to make a ton of money if I believed them. Right?
Well,
That was going to be like an $8,000 repair.
so I am one of those people that is constantly doubting everybody.
You got to.
And well, I mean, my wife is
some
complete
extent.
opposite. She's Pollyanna. I am hellfire, brimstone. Everybody's out to kill you. And so I understand what Pete is saying. There is some freedom to letting that go, but with a big trip coming up to Chicago, I think I would have one more person just kind of give you assurance that
Mhm.
everything's okay.
And the whole reason,
Check the
That-
horn too. By the way.
and the whole reason, is that actually real?
No.
Just what if that
Check
was
the
some
horn.
key or something?
Yeah, make sure your horn fluid's topped off.
And the reason why I was trying to sell it at the beginning of this process was just that, hey, it might be fine, but like, what if some, usual age maintenance comes around and it's worse because of it? You know what I mean? So it was like, let's get out from underneath it so that we're not making nothing off the car, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I get that. But
And look, if there
there's
was
nothing wrong with
a
that.
damn good Camry that was in town right now, I'd probably still do it. I'd do the switch, but that's not the case. So maybe we'll just ride with the Petester.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they're saying about Mike McCarthy also.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like your car.
just for those keeping track at home, because I hadn't taken it on the highway since the second transmission light a month and a half ago. I did take it on the loop today, loop
Mhm.
340. Had it going about
340,
50,
brought to you by
55.
6.
It was working,
You got
It
to
was
know
working.
what?
like 50, 55,
55.
up a hill.
Oh, living dangerously.
It was working.
La vida loca, as they say.
Is that our second Ricky Martin reference?
Maybe. Yeah. I'm going for 3.
The hat trick.
Throw a squid at you when it happens.
I was watching King of the Hill the other day,
Yeah.
and there was a Ricky Martin reference.
Yeah.
Dylan makes one.
Yeah. So anybody
He's
who's
like
listening wants to check out a podcast, check out
It's
Wah.
called Wah. It's King of the Hill podcast done by our own Mike and Rusty, and they go through every episode of King of the Hill, and it's great. I've been on it before.
You
I'd
have
love to
been
be
on it.
I'd
You
love
can
to be on it
be
again.
on it anytime you
I
want.
would love to be
You
on
know
it
that.
again.
Yeah. Pete also. He can be on it anytime he wants. Pete loves that King of the Hill.
Pete is now pissed off at this. Like
Pete's not pissed off.
whatever I'm paying rent on.
No, I'm
He's
a little.
paying rent on me.
I'm frustrated with Cam right now. I am.
So what
Save this for next segment. We'll
Yeah.
we'll revisit
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Why Pete's mad at me?
Why Pete's mad at me? We need a
That's
a
what it's
stinger
gonna be
for
called.
that.
That's
Why Pete's mad?
well, I mean, to be fair, Pete always has a better attitude than I do.
He does. He's
Yeah.
he's got a better attitude than
I show up to
99%
work,
of
but
people
Pete
here
has a
in
better
this
attitude than I do.
Yeah, Pete, and that is one thing I can say about Pete. He is 99% of the time in a good mood, and I think that is self-initiated.
Thank you, Mike.
That's the coffee,
That's the coffee talking.
probably. Pete, do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
Okay, he drinks coffee. All right,
drinks
but
coffee.
everything else for Pete is for the next
He's
segment.
not Amish.
Pete is the next segment. He's the next segment, which is in like less than 10
I hate to
minutes.
say this. He's been part of this segment.
It's Pete, behind the glass. Stay behind the glass. What was I going to talk about? Celtics, because it's a week away from opening
It's an
night.
Irish thing,
There's
right?
something in my eye. They're a week away from opening night, and I was watching a bunch of Celtics porn last night, just highlights from the 2024 championship run, and I'm putting my foot down on the rest of the NBA, much like the Celtics did throughout the whole 23-24 season. I get it. I get what ESPN and all the NBA media is trying to do. There is no team as good as the Celtics right now. No team really got close to touching them in that postseason. Oh, Cam, they didn't play anybody. Yeah, and you know what? Those teams that are supposedly so good that would have given the Celtics a run for their money, they didn't get there either.
I never
So
buy
done
that
hearing
argument.
that shit.
Never buy that
I'm
argument.
so done with it. And then you get to the finals, and no one's out. No one is out injured except for maybe the X factor on your team, Porzingis. 2 Hall of Famers on the other end, and the Celtics destroyed them. Just cleaned house with them. Should have been a sweep. They took a game off. And so I'm sick of hearing that, like, oh, the Knicks are now going to beat them because they got all these Villanova guys and Cat. Oh, Philly's got Paul George. Paul George doesn't even know what injury he's talking about these days.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Yeah.
35, 36. Paul George, once great player. He's not the same player.
His feet fell off this morning.
Could you imagine? Like we saw with him and Kawhi just taking series off. That works when it's the Clippers because nobody cares. Even though they're in LA, nobody gives a
What did you
shit.
see the thing about Ballmer talking about his bathrooms?
No.
The big new stadium, and the only thing he could talk about were the beautiful bathrooms in the thing. I don't know what that says about
I could
Ballmer,
work for that
but
guy. I could work for that guy. That guy's got it's too bad he's wasting with the Clippers. I'll just say that.
I got it for free.
But could you imagine Paul George and Joel Embiid pulling the same shit that Paul George and Kawhi did in Philadelphia? Like, no way. No way. They're kind of on their last legs defending Joel Embiid because they love the guy. But that's just not going to fly if those guys are not available for multiple playoff games,
I have a giant chip.
which is going to happen.
I have a giant chip on my shoulder about Kawhi anyway.
Cowie
Because because huge Spurs fan,
Yeah.
you know, it was the most cowardly way to exit a team, and I didn't appreciate it. I still don't like him for that, and it's a pattern. It's happened in every place he's been,
Yep.
with the
Only
exception of
common
Toronto, because
denominator.
it was a rent-a-cop for one season.
Yeah. Zach and I went over a list that said that he is the greatest Toronto Raptor ever.
Yeah,
He played there for 1 season.
yeah.
He was great in that year. But they said that's the greatest Raptor of all time, which is funny to me.
Well, that's
So
sad.
I'm sick of hearing of these teams that are going to usurp the Celtics this year. I just don't see it happening. If they are as healthy as they are right now, which, by the way, means no Kristaps Porzingis till Christmas, but if they stay relatively healthy, the way they did in the postseason last year, again, no Porzingis for 2.5 rounds, then there's no one that can beat them in a 7-game series.
Do you find it funny that Porzingis was on the other 2 teams that you just talked about also, and they weren't able to win with him?
Well, the Knicks and the Mavs, yeah.
Knicks and Mavs, yeah. I mean,
Not
those
the
are the 2 you talked about, right?
Yeah,
Well,
so-
no, I'm saying you said something about taking a game off during the finals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yes, he played
that's
well.
funny. Yeah, it's funny.
Couldn't unlock him.
Mhm.
Comes to the Celtics, knows how to win. All of a sudden, Boston just breeds winners. That's all it does. Unless it's the Bruins playing against the Panthers. But I'm just like, it's kind of this forced narrative all the way around. And we've heard it, the disrespect of it all. And I understand, obviously, what the media is doing with propping up these other teams. But it's just, they're not as good as the Celtics. Like, at some point, we all did it with the Warriors. We did it with LeBron. Like, at some point, you just have to admit that this is not good enough. I started watching that Starting Five, by the way, that Netflix thing. A brilliant start to it for the LeBron haters. Absolute brilliant start. It starts with him at his house on Halloween. And, like, before he's even on camera, the first quote is, "I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday." And it's just like, that's what LeBron said about everything. Like, that's my favorite saying. That's my favorite book. That's my favorite movie. Like, all the time. And so I was just like, oh boy, here we go. But it's
Well, they weren't
it's
talking
fine.
to him about a practice game during preseason.
Kevin Garnett does an unbelievable Arditas Sabonis impression, which is really funny. But Domantas Sabonis, man, I'm glad he's getting that. He's getting that pub. He's just kind of flies under the radar guy. LeBron, you kind of knew what you were getting with LeBron in this series. Tatum, kind of boring. Anthony Edwards, Jimmy Butler, slightly more entertaining. Not really.
Is it Emo Butler?
There's a lot of that
Yeah.
because they go through that media day.
Yeah.
And-
Day.
And it's okay. It's okay. But I did remember kind of the respect I have for LeBron as a player, in that there was an entire conference for a decade that the other teams in the conference had to decide how they ran their franchise just because of the fact that LeBron was in that conference and that he was going to go to the finals every single year. Like, teams were like, we're going to have to expedite our rebuild. Like, we're just going to have to blow it up now in the hopes that LeBron will leave in free agency in 4 years. Like, we have never – I mean, Jordan is the only other one who's done that in this league. That's pretty incredible.
Wemby's only been there a year.
And certainly Peyton Pritchard will be that way for the Celtics going forward.
Oh my.
We will have a considerably more subdued Pete Souza coming up next on the Camp Show.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.
There it is.
I should have stopped.
Why is that still going?
Hold on, sorry.
Is that Werder?
No, it's my man Rex Ryan, who I was talking to my buddy Matt Davis today about Rex and how he's just got the best veneers of all time.
Hell yeah, man. He's got it going.
As an old man, I want to be an old, healthy-looking man, right, with like those Parcells Rex Ryan veneers. I do.
You had your opportunity. People in local news do veneers.
Dude, I mean, I'm not like dealing with a train wreck here yet.
I should have done that. My teeth are fucking terrible, man. It's all my fault.
Go to the Skin and Body Refinery, get them whitened.
How much is that? Is that like an
It's
affordable
way
thing?
less than you think. It's like $70.
And how long does that last you?
you kind of go like in increments, but you go once every like let's say 6 weeks, and it makes a difference, bro.
Because they're getting yellow too. I'm noticing that.
I'll
They're
say
in bad shape.
I'll say yep. They'll take good care of you.
What's the difference between
I'll
that
get
and
one
like the
appointment.
strips that you put in your mouth?
The strips are a pain in the ass, and who wants to do that every
And
day?
a fucking
I'm
scam.
just asking because I don't know.
No, but seriously, that's why. I mean, you can go in there every 6 weeks and lay down for 40 minutes and be done with it, as opposed to every night having to worry about, putting the strips on, taking them off. Now they're falling
I got to
off.
worry about the hair thing every night, so that's probably a better idea.
Cam, I was pissed at you about the car thing. I've come.
You
off
can
it.
you can still be pissed at me.
I just don't
I'm
understand.
okay with that.
First of all, we have a guest coming up here, so I'm gonna need you to behave. Daniel Stark is coming up here. Daniel Stark, Injury Lawyers. Mike, no weird shit for like 40 minutes. All
He's
right?
like, these are my friends. Don't embarrass me
I
in
got a
front of
couple
my
of new
friends.
masks I need to try.
No. please.
Oh,
So they're
man.
coming up here, so we'll probably.
I'm just only gonna have my hands down my
Probably
pants. the whole
film
time.
our segment with them up here. But I want to say the car thing. Here's
Yeah.
why I'm a little annoyed. Okay, because this is real. I gave you a guy's contact information.
Yep.
You called
Very
that
trusted guy, Jimmy. Yep.
He's a good guy. Great. It's over. He says there's no problem, right? So now I've got skin in the game. Usually I just keep going and I don't
Pete's
care.
rep now. Yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm sure you've had great interactions with the guy. Like, it's not like he's going to be like, hey, what the heck?
No.
But now you're going to go to somebody else. It's like, well, why did you even waste Jimmy's time
I get that.
and my
I
time?
get that.
The guy's like, and everything is there. The writing is on the wall as to the guy has good ratings. I told you he was a good dude, and now he's giving you an assessment of your car.
Mhm.
So now you're going to go with Mike's guy, okay?
Mike puts up a good case for his guy. I'll
Nobody
say
said he
that.
had to go with Mike's guy.
Yeah, but why? No, Mike, you were like, hey,
Well, I
you should go
did,
one more
kinda,
place.
yeah.
You should go to one more place.
He should go to one more place. I'm not saying it has to be my guy, though. I get
Alright.
nothing out
You
of
know
this.
what? Maybe this is like my own PTSD.
We
because
should get Mosley on the phone as a third opinion here.
maybe they'll be
Break the
awesome.
tie.
Well, maybe this is my own PTSD. Because
No,
the
Mosley will
love-
just blame me for not taking it to a mechanic when I bought the car, which he has done every time. And I'm like, Mosley, that's not fixing anything.
He goes to the mechanic.
No, he's brought that up every time I say, like when I brought up the transmission thing initially, and now he'll always be like, well, you didn't take it to a mechanic.
He's
when you
right.
bought it. And yeah, but I also, I did buy it off a family friend, people I trust,
Yeah.
people that know where I live and I know where they live. I don't think they sold me a lemon.
I don't do that either. I don't. First of all, and that's why I'm a fool.
So
But I don't do that stuff either. And look, man, I'm a pretty happy guy with like a moderate level of success. Like, and I don't run around with like, oh my god, take it to a mechanic, got you good. Like there's you can let go of some stuff. All right. I think trusting people.
I think this is what this is all born out of.
Yeah.
Letting go with some stuff.
Let it go totally. And my significant other, who I love, is anal, like Mosley. Like take it to a mechanic. I'm just like, let's just get the car.
Vibes are good. Vibes are good on this vehicle. The vibes are
And
great.
look,
when
that's
got
why I
that
know I
car.
can be an idiot, but you don't have to try like if somebody presents evidence that everything's going to be okay, like I go with that. Jimmy's.
I wanted to avoid the reverse Reggie Lewis, which
Oh
Reggie
my gosh.
Lewis, like the Celtics got a dream team of doctors. It's actually it's sad and it sucks
It's
to
an
say,
amazing story.
but it's a good life lesson.
Let's get into this.
So for those of you who don't know, Reggie Lewis passed out during a playoff game in '95 or
Against the
so.
Hornets.
Yeah, against the Hornets. That's right. And they found out that there was a heart condition. And so the Celtics they called it the dream team of doctors, the 15 or 16 of the best heart doctors in the world, cardiologists. That's the word I was looking for. And they all told him the same thing. You have a degenerative heart condition. You cannot play basketball anymore. And Reggie and his wife, they found another doctor and some sort of experimental doctor, essentially, who said, nope, it's just a fainting condition. If you do it in X, Y, Z, intervals, you'll be okay. And a month later, he died playing a pickup basketball game.
Do you know where he died?
Bentley, Waltham.
No.
Right?
Brandeis University.
Brandeis, also a Waltham. Sorry. Sorry.
That
Brandeis.
was such a tragedy. And Cam, I got to be honest, I forgot the details of the story. So the Celtics,
Like my dad used that as a life lesson to me of like, sometimes you can't, like if you keep going to find the answer that you want, you'll find the answer that you want, but it might not always be the right answer,
Wow.
so to speak, you know?
Whoa, the Bulldozer.
Bill
That
Dozer
is
Bulldozer
great.
pulled out some really good
That's
life
a
lessons.
scary life lesson, man. It sucks because that was like, I have a heart problem. So, and honestly, a guy like Reggie Lewis and Hank Gathers, this is terrible to think, but, they did leave a bit of a legacy. So when it came to guys like me, like I had, once it was detected that I had an arrhythmia and that it was cardiomyopathy,
Mhm.
no doctor was ever going to clear me to play
No.
sports. Like I had
Which
a
is good.
scholarship at the University of Richmond, and what they did was they placated me for a little bit, I believe. They were like, well, it could get better. And then finally, I talked to this cardiologist, Dr. Barry Marin in Minneapolis, who had worked with like all these incredible athletes, and he was like, no.
Mayo Clinic?
Maybe, yeah. And he was like, you can't. I just remember it was a summer, I was in Long Island with my family, and I was like, but because of those guys and those tragedies, there was another line of defense
Yeah.
for guys like me where they were like, no. Because Hank Gathers and Reggie Lewis were both diagnosed and they were allowed to play. And Hank stopped taking his medication, which I know that medication sucks. It's hard for, it doesn't suck, I shouldn't say that, but beta blockers in general, if you want to play like high impact sports where there's big time starting and stopping, it's just initially it's tough,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very interesting.
You know where that Reggie Lewis life lesson actually has helped me a lot in a much smaller circumstance, much lower stakes, is with women. Help me, like I'm serious, it's helped me a ton.
Go
In
ahead.
terms of like, you can keep searching for that answer, but every once in a while it might be right, but like it's not sustainable, kind of. You know what I mean? Bill has some good anecdotes.
Preaching to the
Man.
choir there, but
Like I've been through it. So Bill used to be the scoutmaster for our troop, and at the end of each meeting, they would have what's called the Scoutmaster Minute. And Bill didn't pull any punches with this. He could be intense about it. Two of them that come to mind that I talk about all the time, again, kind of intense life lessons, were middle school age. He talks about Jim Sundberg, who used to play for the Rangers in like the 70s, early 80s, made a couple all-star teams. And he was a big Christian and like kind of motivational speaker. He would go to prisons a lot, do a lot of prison ministry. And he would talk about the power of positive reinforcement. He would tell the prisoners that, my dad, we would play catch every day and he would help me and he would train me and he would tell me every day, you're going to the major leagues and you're going to be a great baseball player. You keep working, you're going to do this, 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 and this. You're going to be that. And after one of his sermons, and I guess that's what you'd call it, in the prison, one of the inmates came up to him and he said, my dad is a lot like your dad. And Jim Sundberg was like, oh, that's great. I'm so glad. Might I ask, like, what's your story? How did you get here? And he said, well, my dad would tell me every day I was a no good, good for nothing, low life, going to end up in prison, white trash. And that's exactly what happened.
yeah.
And like, that was a good lesson of, what to believe in and such and such. The other one he told was about this guy. Oh, this was intense. So he was saying that, he was talking about the power of being an Eagle Scout. One of our scouts is about to get Eagle. And you hear about it all the time, the honor that comes with it. I'm an Eagle Scout. I feel that honor all the time. But like Neil Armstrong is an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
And all these people, Gerald Ford, presidents, astronauts, senators, all these great, powerful people, found life lessons through becoming an Eagle Scout. And he said, another one is Charles Whitman. Anyone ever heard of him? No one's heard of him. He says, well, he was a scout in his early days. He got the rank of Eagle. He joined the military. He was a veteran in Vietnam. He came back home. He went to the University of Texas, his hometown school, on a GI Bill. And one morning he killed his wife and his mom, went to the top of the UT Tower and started shooting people.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could hear a pin drop in this VFW hall that with a bunch of 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
And he goes, the point is that is not the only thing. It can help you and it can be a guiding light, but it does not mean that you are, whatever successful person you aim to be. It's just the start of it. And I was like, whoa. So Bill, he knows how to not pull punches on a lesson.
Yeah.
He doesn't keep bringing it up the way Mosley does with the mechanic. But those are the two that always stick out to me.
Well, sometimes you got to hit him right in the mouth.
Yes.
Right?
Which is actually another great Bill Dozer lesson.
Go ahead.
I'll give you another good one because this one has stuck with me in a very literal sense at times. But he was talking about one time I was like 9 or 10. I was very impressionable. I was hanging out with some of my friends whose parents are super duper liberals. I don't get too political on the show, but it was funny. And these people, as a lot of people in Massachusetts would do, they were like destroying W. They hated Bush, who was still the president at the time. And one time I came home just kind of repeating the same stuff. And my dad was like, well, what's up? Why don't you like Bush? And I said, well, he got us into war, because that's what I had heard at this friend's house. And he goes, yeah, but didn't they tell you in school that FDR was a good president? And me being impressionable was like, of course, yeah, he's one of the best presidents ever. And he's like, well, his whole time they were in war. His whole last 2 terms, they were in war, a world war, worse than this one. And I was like, oh. And he goes, yes, Cam, sometimes you need to fight. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. And that's what got me into a couple of ill-advised fights in my college years. Physical, actual fights
In college?
that I did not win.
You gotta
Yeah.
be careful.
But he said sometimes you just have to fight. Sometimes you can only get pushed so far.
I think that a lot of times.
There you go, Pete.
Yeah, no, you got to fight, and I think once you get over 18, though, you got to be careful too. If you don't want to
Yeah, I got in, I would say 3 scraps, and I don't think I was the winner in any one of them. Yeah. One time it was like this guy was a real douchebag. He ended up like throwing a glass bottle near me and this girl I was walking with at night. And
This is at
Needed to.
Baylor?
yeah, off campus. No, it was never ever like too bad. I think I got a black eye once, so that's about it.
That's the story
Yeah.
of the class.
Anyway, so I'm going to drive the car. I'm going to pick the car up today. I'm going to drive it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think
No, that means I got to take another Uber.
if you want to take one more chance,
fine.
I mean,
Oh, now Pete has relented a bit here.
if you want to, call your dad, see what he says. Ask one more.
That's
person.
that. If we got anything from this segment, it's
Yeah.
call Bill.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
Who doesn't know a lot about cars either, but has a lot of
Life
lived
experience. I think the signs are there, but you never want to be too safe. I don't, or you can't ever be too safe. I don't want you to drive off the road.
And the thing that has been good is I've had it basically the last week. I haven't had the van, so driving it to and fro to work has been fine.
Gary Moss and the good folks over at ESPN Central Texas are going to lose out on a lot of free advertising. You're not driving that van all over.
That's true. So I'll probably keep it driving around, and then I'm still on the lookout. If I can get out from underneath it and get a new to me car,
Yeah.
then that's also ideal. So
Hey, well,
I think what this gives me is at least another option.
Yeah.
It allows me to at least just feel better about the situation and not be backed into a corner.
What's Mosley saying about the Cowboys? I mean, you talked to me
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah.
I'm curious. You guys had a whole show.
Oh man, yeah.
I love talking to him about the Cowboys, dude.
We should have you on the show.
I mean, whatever he wants.
He was pretty in a laughing mood about it yesterday, I'll say.
Really?
Like just a comedy of errors kind of move. Yeah, and it's just how bad does it get, man? These are like legit historic blowouts at home. In the last 4 home games, they've been outscored in the first half by 75 points. 110 to 35 in 4 first halves.
I think you've got to, and you never hear me say this, because I'm not like a coach killer. You have got to move on from Mike McCarthy. Look, that is my take. I'm not in the building. It just looks like this team is whatever it is, and I think you don't want to say a team quit on their coach because that's quite an indictment. But whatever that is, that's kind of what I'm seeing here.
And it is kind of that old cliche, like if nothing else, to kick your guy's ass in gear.
Yeah.
because they're in that situation. Like I think their window is closed already. But if you look at that roster, you could say if Dak plays up to his ability,
Yeah.
which he hasn't this year, then it's still a crack open in the window.
Yeah. And it's not like they've gotten on a roll in a postseason. Like they didn't even have like an Eagles Doug Peterson role, like where, I mean, that's even. He got on a Super Bowl. But you get what I'm saying. Like in recent memory, he hasn't taken the Cowboys anywhere in the postseason.
No.
So it's like I think we've seen enough. You know?
I have two.
Okay. I love Mike McCarthy. I hate seeing people get fired, but it's like I heard JT the Brick yesterday. He said the same thing. He's like, I don't like seeing anybody get fired, but Doug Peterson's done. In Jacksonville, he's done. Yeah.
How do you feel about Lito Shepherd?
What about him?
I don't know. Just how do you feel?
The working quarter? He played for the
Yeah,
Eagles.
yeah, I know.
He was a great cornerback. Why? What did he do?
No, I was thinking about him yesterday. That pick six he had against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And they started playing Lito Shuffle by Boss Gags.
Lito's awesome.
Whole stadium was into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought I got a Philly guy here.
I love a
Gotta get his
cornerback.
thoughts on Lito
I
Shepherd.
love a good cornerback.
Lito.
Yeah. Boss Gags. I gotta go down and get these people from Game of Suck.
That's Pete Souza. He'll be on at 1 o'clock. Pete Souza show. I'll probably be on there.
Yeah, you will.
I try to be. And then we'll be back here tomorrow, high noon Eastern time on YouTube live. And then afterwards, you can find it on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you then on the Camp Show.